Today, I'm looking at 3 cars that are 3 different budgets. It seems a bit strange, but I'm looking for a modern classic. So that brings us here today to VVS to check out the first car, and coincidentally, the cheapest, the Ferrari 360. Oh, look how sick it looks. Since buying the Porsche 918 Spider, I've realized that I've been chasing something a bit more raw, something a bit more unfiltered. That's just something I'm not really getting in the newer cars, and something I'm finding in older cars. The reason I'm looking at 3 different price points is to help me decide which car is the best one for this particular time in my life. The 360 holds a special place in my heart because the first time I rode in a Ferrari, it was in a Ferrari 360 and seeing one in person. This looks so sick. It looks so cool. And do you know what's so funny? Out of all the cars I've driven, all the cars I've gone to buy, this is the most excited I've ever been to look at a car. It just look at it. The Ferrari 360 was the follow-up from the Ferrari 355. The 355 had a lot of issues. It still had that classic Ferrari Pininfarina design. And then Ferrari went to this more sleek and more elegant design a la F50 and 550. For their naturally aspirated V8 model, they went for this design for the Ferrari 360. And the car actually has a bit of a strange history, so let's get into it. Unveiled in 1999, the Ferrari 360 was the first time Ferrari made a car completely of aluminium, body panels and chassis. It also marked the first time a road car had a full flat body with underbody aero, allowing the 360 to achieve downforce without having a huge wing attached to it. The Ferrari 360 also has a 3.6 litre naturally aspirated flat plane crank V8 that provides a sweet soundtrack when you accelerate or even when you're just at idle. It is an old car, so you can see there is wear and tear on it, but my plan is to redo everything on the interior of the car, really make it the Tomi special that it deserves to be. But this is, I haven't sat in a 360 since I was like 12, 13. It smells like an old car. So an issue that you have with the Ferrari 360s is that after a while, the buttons that Ferrari chose to put in this car, they turn sticky and they get a really weird texture. It is expensive to change, but you can do it. But there's just a lot of work that will go into it. But I'm planning on redoing the interior anyway, so I could factor that in. It's just that it's just not a nice sensation to feel. So this car behind me, the Ferrari 360 here at VVS, costs about 55,000 Great British pounds. That means that I'm spending significantly less than the proposed budget for finding a modern classic. I plan to sink about at least 25k into this car just to get it into the condition that I want it to be in. And that's before doing things like the carbon body. So altogether, it probably end up being about 50 grand going into it, which is a lot because it turns it from a 50,000 pound car to a 100,000 pound car. But modern classics to me aren't necessarily about cars that are just raw or cars that are older than other cars that I can find. The cars have to have a story, and the Ferrari 360 being an avid car that featured in popular media at the time, again from games like Outrun, Project Gotham Racing and Need for Speed, it's just something that I grew up with. It's a special car to me. Some may say the F355 is the better car, but I don't want the issues that come with owning an F355. I want something that I can get in and drive comfortably and confidently every single day. And that's why the Ferrari 360 is on my list of modern classics. Nah, I'm sorry. It's so analog. Even the startup, I feel that is just so cool. The decider now, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to take the car out on the road and see how it drives, and that will essentially make up my mind whether or not I'm getting this or getting something else, I think. It sounds so cool. Wow, see you later, alligator. This is so cool. Oh my God, this feels so weird. Oh my God. Oh my God, this is sick. Wow. Nathan, this is actually really good, you know? Cool. It feels like I'm driving a Cayman. Oh my God, I want this now. I wasn't expecting it to be this good. It's got a naturally aspirated V8. It's got a robotized manual gearbox. It's the same company that makes the gearbox in the Aventador, although this is a earlier iteration of it. So although the gearbox isn't as snappy as I thought it would be, it's still really good. And because the car has a short wheelbase as well, I'm finding that it's turning the car, it rotates really well, especially on these modern Pilot Sport 4 tyres. Wow, this is so good. Because this car hasn't got that much power as well, you can literally just sit in third gear for the entirety of the time. It reminds me of a generation of cars where things was just more pure. Everything now just feels a lot more digital and a lot more nannied. But when you're driving the 360, it just feels like you in the car, and that's all that matters. So as I was driving the Ferrari 360, one thing I quickly noticed was how easy it was to drive. I was expecting a much tougher and much more unreliable experience. But as soon as I got in it, I felt at home in the driver's seat. I might have to just buy this car. Like, regardless of what I do in my life, I might have to just get this car just for the love of the game. Really thoroughly enjoyed that. Do you know what? That's reassured to me that, like, I can get a 360 and I'll be happy, like, with how it drives. A lot of people say, oh, it doesn't drive, the gearbox is this. The gearbox is probably whack if you're a whack driver, but I thought that was absolutely fine. That is incredible. It probably would be more fun manual though, but I had a lot of fun with the auto just then, because it's nice to use the paddles. This is gonna make choosing a car really hard. So we are now on our way to London to look at a very special Mercedes-Benz SLS. The SLS is a car that came out in about 2011, and it was supposed to be the next generation of the SLR and essentially be the modern version of the 300 SL Gullwing. The SLS wasn't a collaboration between McLaren and Mercedes. This in fact was the first Mercedes car developed in-house by AMG. So I've driven one before. It doesn't drive like a regular Mercedes. It doesn't drive how it looks either. So let me get you up to speed on the SLS, just in case you don't know. Revealed in Frankfurt in 2009 and on sale from 2010 to 2014, the aluminium space frame Mercedes SLS was the first Mercedes developed in-house solely by AMG. The car featured a 6.2 litre naturally aspirated M159 engine. It also featured a transaxle for better weight distribution, which resulted in the Mercedes SLS being a lot sportier than Mercedes ever intended. So we're now in another location to see something very special. And special it is, we pulled up and it was displayed to us like this. This SLS behind me has a very unique and special story. The first thing about this car is that it has every single option that was available from the factory, aside from ceramic brakes. The reason it doesn't have ceramic brakes, the owner that spec'd this car didn't want ceramic brakes just because they can be quite problematic at times. But other than that, it has everything, ranging from carbon fiber on the sill, which I've never seen on an SLS, to carbon fiber interior. And if you want to see something really special, let me show you this. If you open the front engine bay, this is one of the early SLSs in the world with a carbon fiber engine bay. And the reason for that is that when this car was new, this option was 15,000 Great British pounds. So 10% of the car's value was the carbon fiber engine bay, and it just makes this look so amazing. I was told by the owner that if you don't have a carbon fiber engine bay, it's just all exposed, there's no plastic. But this is something that's very sought after in the SLS community, which I may become part of really soon. So the SLS being a 10-year-old car, usually you would expect it to have 10-year-old car faults. 10, this is 2012. This is like a 15-year-old car at this point. Well, near 15. But if you come here and you look at the leather, you can see that the leather is still in almost new condition. Even the sills look unscuffed and undamaged. And if you come over to the interior, you're gonna notice something very interesting about this car, considering that we're in the UK. It's left-hand drive. And that is because this car was actually imported from where it was originally ordered by a member of a certain. So the history on this is absolutely incredible. It's just a special car to own, and not many, I say not many, this is the only one in Magno Black in the world. So it's a very special car, and I'd be very stupid to pass this up. Despite the Magno paint, despite the carbon fiber options, and despite the wonderful condition it's in, this car has an even more impressive story. A story that's very interesting, but I'm not actually allowed to share it unless I buy the car. So we'll have to wait and see. You'll see that you have the gullwing doors. They're held up by these struts here. There's an explosive element in the struts, so if you roll the car, they can eject themselves off the car, James Bond style. It's a bit difficult to get in, but once you get in, you're absolutely comfortable and fine in here. It feels like a GT car. It doesn't feel like you're necessarily sitting in a supercar. Now, we didn't drive this SLS today, but I drove another SLS about 2 weeks ago. This SLS that I drove belongs to the founder of Charles and Dean, the finance company that I use and that I recommend. Charles and Dean have always provided me with the right finance for the right car. They allow flexible funding options that means that you can get your dream car at an affordable price. For example, when I wanted to get the Porsche 918 Spider, I sat down with Charles and Dean and we went over everything. We decided on what I could afford monthly and how much I wanted the car to be when I purchased it, and then we figured out a package that worked for me. So if you're interested in getting a Porsche 918, or if you're interested in getting a cheaper car, for example, my mum's Jaguar I-Pace, which I also funded through Charles and Dean, check out charlesanddean.com/Tomi, and then they can give you all the advice you need, as well as giving you quotes on the potential car that you're gonna purchase. Anyway, back to the video. One thing about this car compared to the 360 is there's hundreds of 360s on the road in the UK. There's 60 SLSs on the road, and there's only one SLS in the world that looks like this and that has this story. So to me, this seems like the more sensible buy right now. I think one thing we have to do though is fire up. It just sounds godly. The 360 sounded great. This is a completely different sound. They both have V8 engines, both naturally aspirated, but this just sounds like that amazing German muscle car sensation. This is just, it's incredible. Oh my God. So when I was driving the SLS a few weeks ago, one thing I noticed immediately was how pointy the car was in comparison to what I expected it to be. So when you look at the SLS, it looks like it's just going to be a really comfortable GT cruiser, and it's going to be a bit numb to drive. But as soon as I turned the steering wheel, I realized that the car was just completely dialed in, especially with that four-wheel steering system working in tandem with the front, meaning that the car could rotate and pivot around corners a lot better than I ever expected. Also, the M159 engine, that 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8, gives you an unrivaled soundtrack. It also gives you unrivaled response. I feel like this SLS has massive scope to increase in the value. Whereas with the 360, I'll end up spending money on it and not necessarily seeing that money back unless I do an insane project. Unlike the 360, which I expect to kind of hover around £56,000, this SLS, if I purchase it at the price that is advertised at to me today, I believe, I hope that it will continue to go up in value just because of how rare the car is, how unique the car is, and especially because how good the car is to drive. But one thing is for certain, if I want a 360, I can always buy a 360. If I want an SLS, it's already hard to find, but finding one like this, near enough impossible, because this is the only one. So the SLS is stupendous. As you can tell by my reaction, I was just blown away by it. It gave me a feeling that I didn't think I would get, especially after driving the 360, but it kind of matched that. Purchase price, we're looking at about 155,000 Great British pounds. That is the car fully done. It's had some services done, so I don't have to worry about doing anything on top. In terms of the ownership, I don't plan on modifying the car, so it'll pretty much cost me nothing in that realm. And servicing is surprisingly cheap on the SLS. So again, it's gonna pretty much cost me nothing to own. Now, who would I be if I didn't show you another option right now? And here we have the final option on the Modern Classic list, the Mercedes-Benz McLaren SLR. Now we have the bonus car, the most expensive car in the budget when we're looking for a modern classic. It's a special car, a unique car, and a car that has a place in my mind from my childhood. So the Mercedes-Benz SLR came out at the same time as the Carrera GT and the Enzo. This was the holy trinity of the time. The SLR was hampered by the fact that it came with a 5-speed automated gearbox. So it wasn't an engaging drive, as you would say. This is more of like a tourer, a cruiser, but as a modern classic, I think it fits in that bracket quite well. The only thing is that this car is significantly more expensive than the SLS and the 360 combined, coming in at around £300,000. But one thing this car does have is a very cool and unique design. There's nothing else on the road that will look like this or has ever looked like this. And it also has a 5.4 litre supercharged V8. So it sounds pretty insane. Maintenance costs is something that scares me on the SLR though. I'm not sure how it would be. There are specialists that can do all the work. I've heard some of the parts are obsolete, but these are just horror stories and you just don't know the truth until you get one yourself. But whilst we're here, I have the key. Let's take a look around the SLR because I think that this would be a cool modern classic to have. Built in 2003, a collaboration between McLaren and Mercedes to mirror what they were doing in Formula One, the carbon fiber chassis SLR is an immense piece of kit. The car features a 5.4 litre supercharged V8 that could achieve over 205 miles an hour. It is a terrifying car to look at and probably an even more terrifying car to drive. One thing that the SLR has that no other car on the list has is gull wing doors. Would you call these gull wings? No, these aren't. Gull wing is gull wings. The SLS. These are butterfly doors. But if you come here, you'll see that the interior is a lot tighter than the other cars on the list. I'm surprised that the 360 has more space in this because this is significantly larger than the 360. It's weird though because these cars haven't really gone up in price that much, and the reason for that I think is the gearbox. I think people just struggle to get their head around the driving experience. It's the kind of gearbox that you would see in like a saloon of the time. I'm not sure why they put it in this car. If I jump in, how do you do? How do you do that? It's hard. This is hard to get into. Okay, I'm in now. So this car is 20 years old, so about the same age as the 360. It doesn't feel it, but the steering wheel looks it. It's nice to be in. There's not that much space. It's very snug. I used to really love this car when I was a child, but I think now that I'm older, I'm just less infatuated by it. And I thought that I'll come here and I'll have this like overwhelming sense of wow and mystique about the SLR, but I'm kind of getting in it and thinking, I would rather be in the SLS. The bonnet is long. If you take a look, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 feet. 7 feet away from you where you sit, which is pretty insane. You're pretty much sitting on the rear axle, which must make the driving experience really weird. But do not be fooled by the fact that the front is so long. The engine starts here and goes back into the engine bay basically. So it's done for weight balance. The design is just to honor the previous Mercedes of yesteryear, you know, like the Stirling Moss driven formula cars and whatnot. So yeah, the SLR's here. I love it, but it's not exciting me in terms of what I want from my modern classic. This car is kind of the car you just park up and drive occasionally. The modern classic I buy, I want a car that I can drive pretty much all the time. Like literally like I plan to pretty much daily, whichever car I buy. And this car, you just wouldn't daily. I think for me, it's between the SLS and the Ferrari 360. The SLR listed at European Prestige is 299,000 Great British pounds. When the SLR was new, it cost 312,000 Great British pounds, and that was in 2003. So already the car's depreciated. If you factor in inflation, the car has essentially lost 200,000 Great British pounds, because in today's price and today's money, the SLR would have been 500,000 Great British pounds. But it's neither here or there. I think the car's gonna go up in value. If we look at the LFA, we look at the Carrera GT, we look at all those cars, they've gone up in value eventually, and I think the SLR is just a bit slow to go up in value. The reasons for that, that 5-speed gearbox, obviously, and then also running them and servicing them isn't cheap. So I just read somewhere that someone spent 25,000 Great British pounds on a service. So the SLR is going to be expensive to run. Whilst we're here, here's my 918 Spider with the original wheels. When I say the original wheels, I mean the launch wheels to the 918. So that's the launch wheels. Those are the wheels that are on the car right now. You can see there's no center caps on them. These are the Visac wheels, so they're lighter because they're made of magnesium. However, I like the look of these wheels a lot more than I like the look of the Visac lighter track wheels. And also it's because they're black. I think this just looks cooler because it's like a titanium-y kind of effect. And I think it'll contrast well with this, but I am changing the wheels on the car, and this is what the wheels will look like because I'm getting custom wheels made by Silk Forged, a really cool company. They helped me design these wheels, first 918 wheels from them. So those are the cars. It's probably going to be, well, it is going to be between the Ferrari 360 and the Mercedes SLS. These are two cars that have probably never been cross-shot before. I want to know what you guys want to see. 360 or SLS? The SLS, they're rare. They're a lot more rare than the 360. I could always get an SLS, but I can't always get this SLS with the story it has that I wish I could share with you right now, but I won't be able to share with you unless I bought. It's a hard decision. Help. What would you guys do? But anyway, that's the video. Here's my garage. Help me decide. Modern classic 360 SLS. What are we gonna do? I don't know. Oh my goodness. Subscribe to the channel, like, thumbs up. Guys, not many of you watching my videos. Please watch my videos. I put a lot of effort into them. Please. Bye.